An app gave a Guinness in Edinburgh a 3 out of 10, and I think it's completely wrong. So today I'm going to some of the highest rated, lowest rated, and completely unreviewed pubs in Edinburgh to see if you can trust users on this app to rate Guinness, or if it's just complete nonsense. Because here's the thing, Guinness is weird. A good pint and a bad pint don't just taste slightly different. They taste like completely different drinks. And if you ask someone Irish, they'll tell you that every pint outside of Ireland is basically dishwater, which to be fair, I think the exact same about whiskey and iron brew, so maybe they might be onto something. So what actually makes a good pint? Well, according to Guinness, it's down to 3 things: the pour, the temperature, and the head. But even if you get all of these right, you can still get a bad one. So I found this app, the Black Map, where people rate Guinness in pubs all over the world, and today I'm going to put it to the test. Also, quick note before we get started, every pub I went to was dog friendly, which in Edinburgh is basically all of them, but I thought I would just make the call out anyway. So first up is Mackay's on the Mile, which, you guessed it, is on the Royal Mile. Now, I don't usually drink anywhere near the Royal Mile, mainly because I like having money. Also, quick note, the Black Map only rates Guinness, not the pub itself, so I'll rate both the Guinness and the pub. According to the Black Map, Mackay's on the Mile has a 3 out of 10, so this should be pretty bad, but it only has one public review, and it says, "Not the worst pint I've had, not the best, 0 damage, and the server spilled most of it en route to the table." I mean, is that really a review of the pint? Or is he just making a comment that your server was doing a Charlie Chaplin impression? Anyway, I got a pint, and honestly, it was fine. And which already doesn't match the 3 out of 10. It wasn't offensive, but it wasn't amazing. It was just kind of there. Probably maybe a 5 out of 10. It cost £7.50, which is kind of standard for the Royal Mile. In fact, I've had pints that are more expensive. There was also a slight weird smell, but I'm hoping it was just because we were sat right next to the fireplace, and that was the reason, and not something else entirely. The pub itself felt like it was a restaurant and a hotel. It was very polished, it was very clean. It felt like it had a bit of a facelift. I guess it just felt like that because it felt more like a restaurant that had a bar rather than a pub that serves food, if that makes sense. Also, my wife joined me on this adventure and wanted to rate the women's bathrooms. I just need to make that warning in case you thought I was sticking my head in and having a look myself. I wasn't. She says the bathrooms here were just like hotel lobby bathrooms. Clean, which kind of tracks with the rest of the vibe of the pub. I would give Mackay's on a Mile probably a 5 out of 10 as well. It was fine. If you're a tourist, I'm sure you'll love it, but I can think of probably about 10 better pubs and restaurants within about a 10-minute walk of where we were. So Mackay's on the Mile was a 3 out of 10 according to the Black Map, which honestly, it's not great, but it wasn't that bad. Which makes me wonder, how hard is it actually to get a decent Guinness at home? Because Guinness says that the closest way to a pub quality Guinness is through one of these Nitrosurge machines. So let's put that to the test. You catch it after opening the can. Now we just let that sit for about 90 seconds. Okay, so it's been 90 seconds, so we're going to top it up. Honestly, it looks the part. Does it taste the part? Taste-wise, it's good. It's just that slight inch away from being a proper pub pint. So we'll basically use this as our benchmark from now on. Next up was Meadows Tap, which is just south of the Meadows, which is a very convenient name for a pub just by the Meadows. On the Black Map, the place has a 1.5 out of 10, which is not ideal. Like Mackay's on the Mile, it only has one public review, which is not in a Guinness glass. Glass was dirty, single pour, icy cold, all around horrific pub. Which according to Guinness is pretty much every mistake you can make when pouring a Guinness. And to be fair, I have had my fair share of pubs in the UK that pour Guinness like they're pouring a Coke, or it's just up to the brim, so it really doesn't surprise me. Anyway, we walked in and they didn't have Guinness anymore, which feels like the most extreme way to fix a bad rating. The pub itself feels like something I would have drawn when I was younger as a pub I wanted to own. Retro games, board games, Blink 182 was playing on the speakers, and it was showing the 2001 Royal Rumble. The Murphy's was good. It cost £6.60. Honestly, it was better than the Nitrosurge. I obviously can't rate the Guinness because they didn't have Guinness, but I would give the Meadows Tap probably about an 8.5 out of 10. Loo review, it was clean, had a cool tile, and they had menstrual products for free. Anyway, we left the Meadows Tap and walked through the Meadows to get to the other side to Seamus's, which is an Irish pub, and it's the highest rated one so far, which, if it isn't good, then the app's in trouble. Now I have 3 criteria for an Irish pub outside of Ireland. It serves more Irish drinks than just Guinness. Bonus points if they have Beamish. It hosts live music every night, and when you walk in, it has horse racing on no matter what time of day. It could be 8 AM and they'd be showing horse racing from like Brunei or somewhere. Seamus has hit all 3. They hit Guinness, Beamish, check, and Murphy's. There was live music playing in the corner by the door, and the horse racing was on. Now Seamus's has an 8.5 on the black map from 3 reviews, all of them saying that the glasses were clean, the pint was good. One review did also give bonus points for having Beamish and Murphy's too. The table we had also had a booklet of pages of crisp and wine pairings, so I might have to try that for a video sometime. The Guinness glasses were chilled, and it was a good Guinness to be fair, and it cost only £6.50. It was smooth, had a nice head, and it was the right temperature. And again, only cost £6.50, an entire pound less than Mackay's on the Mile. I would say the Guinness was a 9 out of 10. You know what? I'd give Seamus's a 9 out of 10 as well, actually. The app is looking pretty smart right now, and this is miles better than the Nitrosurge, which is slightly annoying because I wanted it to be wrong so bad. But now the app has something to prove. I also had to get a Beamish because very few pubs in Edinburgh have Beamish, so when I find one that has it, it's a nice little surprise. Which this may have been a bad idea because this was only pub 3 of 7. The women's bathroom was small, it had menstrual products, but everything was kind of short, but it did smell nice. Now I don't think this is controversial, but there's a big difference between an Irish pub and an Irish themed bar. Seamus's, that's an Irish pub. Then you've got the Irish themed bars, which have exploded in popularity since COVID, mainly because Guinness is trendy again. You know, it's like splitting the G, TikTok, all that. And look, I get it, but you walk in and it's just like leprechauns, shamrocks, Guinness signs everywhere. There's a 2007 Celtic home kit behind the bar hung up like it's a museum piece. Then you get to the bar and a pint of Guinness costs £7.50 and it's nowhere near the Royal Mile. And suddenly the whole thing just feels off. Like they're trying so hard to convince you that it's authentic when it so obviously isn't. There's a nastiness to the whole affair. Edinburgh's had loads of these recently, like Irish ones, Western ones, like Boston Bar, West Side Rodeo, Coyote Ugly. I think I'm just sensitive to it because I grew up in Texas, where the Scottish pub in Houston, where the most Scottish thing was me. And I'm not even joking. The only non-American pint that they had was Stella, and that's now owned by Anheuser-Busch, so that barely counts anymore. Anyway, back on track. Kitty O'Shea's definitely leans more Irish-themed bar than Irish pub, but you'd think at a very minimum, you'd expect them to get Guinness right. It's like going to a steakhouse where they can't even cook steak. Kitty's has 8 out of 10 from 13 reviews, varying from it's the best pint in Edinburgh to it's fine to Glasgow Kitty O'Shea's is better. The Edinburgh-Glasgow rivalry is represented even on the black map. They had live music, which was good. They also were showing the Women's Six Nations, and it was quite busy because of that. The Guinness was fine, probably a bit on par with the Nitrosurge, to be honest. It was good enough. Not amazing by any means, but not terrible either. Maybe like a 6 out of 10, and it also cost me £6.10. The bathroom could have been cleaner, but then again, it was mid-afternoon or a Saturday at this point. The hand dryer was blocking a stall door, which that could be awkward on a busy night. Probably give Kitty's a 7 out of 10. As a pub, we left Kitty's and walked down Rose Street into the Guildford Arms, which has an 8.5 from 5 reviews, basically all saying it's a great pint of Guinness. I'm going to do the rest of this edited like one of those podcast clips that go viral that are very obviously not from a podcast, because those clips ban on TikTok. Alright, so I've just walked into the Guildford Arms, and I'm not even joking, the first thing you do is look up. The ceiling is absolutely ridiculous, like proper old school detail. Feels like you walked into a Victorian time capsule or something. And yeah, honestly, this might be the best pub atmosphere in Edinburgh, and I'm saying this completely unprompted. Right, anyway, speaking of Guinness, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10, and it cost £6.60. It's decent, don't get me wrong, but why is it not in a Guinness glass? I'm not sure if it's time of day, or if it was because it was Saturday afternoon, because some reviews have it that the Guinness glasses and others don't, but not serving pints in the actual glasses that they should be served in feels weirdly on brand for the place. Like they're too historic to care about that sort of thing. Overall though, I would give the Guildford Arms a 9 out of 10. I'd easily come back just for the ceiling. And anyway, the women's bathroom was clean. It was up some stairs, and the walkway into the cubicle was super close together, so it was cramped unless you were short. And they had no menstrual products. So we got on the tram down to Leith for our next stop in Malone's, which, like Kitty O'Shea's, is more of an Irish themed bar than an Irish pub. They have an average of an 8.5 from 5 reviews, with everyone saying it's a good pint, with some even saying it's the best pint of Guinness that they've had in Scotland. Now, Malone's can get busy during match days for both rugby and football, and especially busy if Celtic are playing, and it was busy because the Liverpool-Fulham match was on. The Guinness was good, not amazing like some of the reviews were saying, which is the exact problem with this app. It was a good pint, but again, not miles ahead of where the Nitrosurge was, which is exactly the problem. But that being said, it was busy, and Guinness isn't exactly known for being a pint with a quick turnaround time. It cost £6.70, which is about what I would expect to pay for a pint of Guinness, and I would give it a 7 out of 10, and I'd give Malone's as a pub probably an 8 out of 10. Wayne's bathroom is up some stairs, and about what you expect from a pub bathroom on a Saturday afternoon. Clean but not spotless. They had menstrual products. Now, Tuchter's Landing is the first pub I drank in when I moved to Edinburgh, and it's pretty good, but it can get busy during match days, especially during the Six Nations if Scotland are doing well. On the black map, it has no score at all. 0 reviews, which feels like a massive oversight for a place that's consistently this busy. The pint costs £7.50, which for being outside of the city centre should probably be illegal, but clearly people are paying for it, myself included. Guinness was fine, again, on par with the Nitrosurge. It's better than Mackay's, but it was pretty mid compared to some of the others today. Probably give it a 6.5 out of 10, and Tutor's itself probably a 8, 8.5. The bathroom was clean, about what you would expect, but nothing special, nothing terrible either. Should I rate it on the black map? I'm going to rate it. So what would I give it? Probably about a 7 or an 8 out of 10 for taste. Domage, probably a 7. Shtick, I think shtick is when it's like how it sticks to the glass. I don't really remember what it was. I'll probably give it a 6. The presentation was fine. Let's say a 7. Reviewed. Solid pint of Guinness. Great pub atmosphere overall. And there's just one that I've found from the time that I was there. Review. Can you trust the app? Honestly, sometimes. It got Seamus's right, but some of the ratings of some of the other pubs just make no sense to me. So I think the answer is trust it, just not blindly. Might have to go to every other pub rated higher than Seamus's 8.5 just to be sure. And just remember to be the version of yourself that you want to be, because the world is better off because of it.